The Awakening. Dr. Kate Sullivan pushed through the gates of San Diego Zoo as the first rays of dawn painted the sky orange. After 5 years of the same routine, she expected nothing more than another quiet morning with her research subjects. The cool air carried the scent of eucalyptus and the distant sound of awakening animals. Kate balanced her steaming coffee cup and research notebook as she walked the familiar path to the elephant enclosure. Her work studying elephant family dynamics had consumed her life, especially since her divorce 6 months ago. The elephants had become her refuge, their gentle intelligence a comfort in her increasingly isolated world. Luna, the matriarch of the herd, stood near the fence as always. At 45 years old, Luna had spent 22 years at the zoo and had raised 3 calves. Kate had developed a special bond with the ancient elephant, who seemed to enjoy human company more than the others. But today felt different. As Kate approached, Luna lifted her massive head and fixed her with an intense stare. Not the usual friendly acknowledgement, but something deeper, more purposeful. Then it happened. "You smell sad today, human friend." The words appeared in Kate's mind as clearly as if someone had spoken them aloud. She dropped her coffee cup, hot liquid splashing across the concrete. Her heart hammered as she looked around the empty zoo grounds, seeing only a few maintenance workers preparing for the day. "Did you just talk to me?" Kate whispered. Luna's trunk swayed gently, and those ancient eyes held Kate's gaze. "I have always talked to you. Today, you finally hear me." Kate's scientific mind reeled. Elephants couldn't speak to humans, it was impossible. Yet Luna's voice in her head was as real as the morning sun warming her face. "How is this possible?" Kate asked, her voice shaking. Luna moved closer to the fence, her presence both comforting and overwhelming. "Your kind is changing. We have waited long for this day. My grandmother told me stories of the old times, when all creatures could speak together. She said humans would remember how to listen again." Over the next hour, Kate learned more about Luna's world than 5 years of research had revealed. The elephant spoke of complex relationships between the zoo animals, of the polar bear's homesickness for Arctic ice, of the joy baby monkeys felt when children visited. Kate tried to rationalize what was happening. Stress from her divorce, perhaps. Overwork. Some kind of breakdown. But Luna's voice was too detailed, too filled with information Kate had never known. When other zoo workers arrived, Kate attempted to act normal, but throughout the day, more voices joined the chorus in her mind. The lions complained about the heat. The penguins gossiped about their favorite fish. Even the prairie dogs had opinions about everything from the weather to the music playing over the zoo speakers. By evening, Kate sat exhausted in her small apartment, trying to process the day's impossible events. She turned on the news while picking at her dinner, barely paying attention until the reporter's words made her freeze. Strange reports are flooding in from around the world. Pet owners claim their animals are speaking to them. Farmers report conversations with livestock. Wildlife experts describe unusual behavior from animals in zoos, national parks, and research facilities. Kate grabbed the remote, turning up the volume. The reporter continued, "Dr. Marcus Johnson, a veterinarian in Montana, says he calmed an angry bull this morning just by thinking peaceful thoughts. Marine biologist Lisa Carter in Florida claims she had a 2-hour conversation with a dolphin about ocean currents. Video after video showed impossible scenes, a young girl sitting calmly beside a rattlesnake, explaining to cameras that the snake was just looking for water. An elderly farmer walking through a field of cows that followed him like devoted pets." Kate's phone rang. Her boss from the zoo sounded frantic. "Kate, thank God. The media's going crazy. Visitors today said our elephants were talking to them. I need you here early tomorrow. We might have to close until we figure out what's happening." After hanging up, Kate sat in silence. Then she heard another voice, softer than Luna's but just as clear. "Finally, human. I have been trying to tell you for months that the food you buy tastes terrible." Kate looked down at Whiskers, her orange tabby cat, sitting primly by her feet. She started laughing, not from humor, but from the overwhelming realization that her life had just changed forever. The next morning, Kate slipped through the zoo's employee entrance past crowds of reporters and curious onlookers. She found Luna waiting with 3 other elephants from the herd. "The humans are frightened," Luna said. "They do not understand that this is a gift, not a curse." "What's really happening to us?" Kate asked. Luna's ancient eyes held infinite wisdom. "Your species has grown enough to hear the voices of all life. But growth brings responsibility. What will humans do now that they can hear every creature on Earth?" Kate looked around the zoo with new understanding. Every animal was now a potential conversation partner, each with thoughts, feelings, and stories to share. The magnitude of what was happening struck her like a physical blow. Humanity had gained the ability to communicate with every living thing on the planet. The question was, what would they do with that power? Global awakening. 3 months after the Great Awakening, as the media had dubbed it, the world struggled to adapt to its new reality. Kate Sullivan had become one of the leading researchers studying the phenomenon, working with governments and scientists worldwide to understand humanity's sudden evolution. The changes were staggering. Pet stores had transformed into translation centers. Veterinarians found themselves working as therapists, helping resolve conflicts between humans and their newly vocal animal companions. Zoos around the world faced closure as animals demanded better living conditions and some requested to return to their natural habitats. Kate stood in her new laboratory at the International Animal Communication Institute in Geneva, watching news feeds from around the globe. In Australia, sheep farmers were revolutionizing agriculture by asking their flocks what they needed. In the Amazon, indigenous tribes worked with jaguars and monkeys to protect the rainforest more effectively than ever before. In the Arctic, polar bears guided researchers to understand climate change from an entirely new perspective. But not all the news was positive. Some humans couldn't handle the constant mental chatter from insects and small creatures. Special, quiet zones had been established in major cities where animal populations were carefully managed to give people mental peace. Support groups formed for those overwhelmed by their new abilities. Kate's assistant, Dr. James Chen, burst into her office with urgent news. "Kate, you need to see this. We've got something big." He led her to the communication center, where Dr. Helen Martinez sat surrounded by computer screens. Helen had become famous for her exceptional ability to translate complex animal communications and had been recruited from New York just weeks earlier. "What is it?" Kate asked. Helen looked up, her face pale with excitement and concern. "I've been analyzing reports from animals worldwide, looking for patterns. Kate, they're all saying the same thing in different ways. Something about sky watchers and the metal birds that don't flap their wings." Kate felt a chill run through her. "What exactly are they saying?" "A crow in Central Park told me yesterday, the sky watchers are coming down. Big metal birds that do not flap their wings. They have been watching from above for many seasons. The old ones remember them." James frowned. "Sky watchers." Helen nodded grimly. "Wolves in Montana, dolphins in the Pacific, eagles in the Himalayas, they're all talking about beings that have been observing Earth from above. And Kate, some of these animals say their ancestors have been aware of this presence for generations." Kate's scientific mind raced. If animals had been aware of some kind of surveillance for decades, why hadn't they been able to warn humans before? "Because we couldn't hear them," she whispered. "They've been trying to tell us all along." The next day brought confirmation of their fears. Commander Zara Klein, head of the International Space Coalition, called an emergency meeting. Kate and Helen were among the select few invited to the secure facility in Geneva. Commander Klein stood before a wall of monitors, her expression grave. "At 0300 hours this morning, we received a transmission. It wasn't from Earth." The room fell silent as she pressed a button. A synthesized voice filled the air. "Greetings, inhabitants of the third planet. We are the Valerian Collective. We have been observing your species for 300 of your years. We believe it is time for first contact. Kate's hands trembled as the implications sank in. The animals had been right. Earth had been under observation for centuries. They've given us coordinates in the Nevada desert and specified a meeting time, 72 hours from now, Commander Klein continued. Every major government is involved. We're putting together a first contact team. Helen raised her hand. Commander, with respect, you can't negotiate for Earth without including the animals. They've been aware of this threat, or opportunity, far longer than we have. That's exactly why you're both here, Commander Klein replied. Dr. Martinez, we need you as our animal communication specialist. Dr. Sullivan, your research on interspecies cooperation makes you invaluable. As they prepared for humanity's first official contact with an alien species, Kate couldn't shake the feeling that everything was connected. Humanity's sudden ability to communicate with animals, the aliens' decision to make contact now, it couldn't be a coincidence. 2 days before the scheduled meeting, Kate stood in Central Park with Helen, speaking with the same crow that had first mentioned the Sky Watchers. How long have your people known about them? Kate asked. The crow cocked its head, its black eyes reflecting intelligence that still amazed Kate. Since before your great-grandfathers were born. We tried to warn humans, but you could not hear us. The wolves howled at their flying machines. The eagles followed their ships. Even small creatures like us watched and remembered. Helen translated for Kate, adding her own question, what do the animals think the aliens want? The old stories say they watch and learn, but never touch. Now that you can hear us, perhaps they think you are ready to listen to them too. That evening, Kate stood on her hotel balcony in Las Vegas, looking out at the desert where humanity would soon face its greatest challenge. Her phone buzzed with messages from around the world, governments preparing, military forces mobilizing, and scientists theorizing. But what struck her most was a message from Luna, transmitted through the zoo's new animal communication network, be brave, human friend. Tomorrow, Earth speaks with one voice. Make sure it is a voice of wisdom. Kate realized that the next day would determine not just humanity's future, but the future of every living creature on Earth. The animals had waited centuries to be heard. Now, they would help humanity navigate the most important conversation in the planet's history. The desert wind carried the scent of sage and the promise of tomorrow's revelations. First contact. The Nevada desert had never seen anything like it. As the human delegation set up their base camp near the designated coordinates, animals began arriving from across North America. Not in small groups, but in unprecedented numbers. Kate watched in amazement as coyotes emerged from the mountains, eagles circled overhead, and creatures that normally avoided humans appeared on the horizon, all moving toward the same location. By morning, hundreds of animals had formed a wide circle around the meeting site. They want to be part of this, Helen explained to Ryan Clark, the lead negotiator for the human team. The animals say this affects all life on Earth, not just humans. Ryan, a career diplomat who had handled international crises, looked overwhelmed. My training never covered this scenario. How do I negotiate for humanity when we're not the only voice at the table? Kate placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. You speak for Earth now, Ryan. All of it. The alien ship appeared exactly at the scheduled time, a smooth, silver craft that descended without making a sound. As it touched down, the assembled animals fell silent, creating an eerie calm across the desert. The ship's door opened with a soft hiss, and 3 tall figures stepped out. Kate's breath caught as she saw them clearly, pale blue skin that shimmered like liquid crystal, large eyes that reflected the desert sun, and elongated limbs that moved with fluid grace. The lead alien approached the human delegation, carrying a device that glowed with soft light. When he spoke, the device translated his musical tones into perfect English. I am Senior Researcher Vex 9 of the Valerian Collective. We greet the humans of Earth. We have studied your species for 300 of your years. We come in peace to welcome you to the galactic community. Ryan stepped forward, but before he could respond, something extraordinary happened that clearly stunned the aliens. A large gray wolf moved out of the animal circle and positioned itself beside Ryan. An eagle landed gracefully on Ryan's shoulder. A coyote sat down at his feet, its amber eyes fixed on the aliens. "I am Ryan Clark, speaking for humanity," Ryan said, his voice stronger than Kate had expected. "But as you can see, I do not speak alone." Vex 9's large eyes widened even further. The alien looked from Ryan to the animals and back again, his expression showing obvious confusion. "We do not understand. Our records indicate that humans cannot communicate with other Earth species." Helen stepped forward. "Your records are old. Humans have evolved. We can now speak with all the creatures of our world." The three aliens began conversing among themselves in their native language, their voices creating sounds like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Kate noticed their body language suggested surprise, even distress. Finally, Vex 9 turned back to the humans. "This is most unexpected. Our protocols for contact do not account for such development. We prepared to meet with human leaders only." "Then you weren't prepared to meet with Earth," Helen replied firmly. "Our planet speaks with many voices. What happened next changed everything." Through Helen's translation, the animals began sharing their observations of the aliens. The wolves described flight patterns of alien scout ships that had been visiting for decades. The eagles reported on landing sites that had been used regularly in remote locations. The coyotes told stories passed down from their elders about strange lights in the sky and beings who watched but never approached. Senior researcher Vex 9 looked increasingly overwhelmed as each revelation shattered another assumption his people had made about Earth. "You are not the species we expected to meet," he admitted, his translated words carrying notes of distress. "Our analysis suggested humans were isolated from other Earth life forms. This changes everything. We're still learning about our new abilities ourselves," Ryan nodded. "But we cannot negotiate for Earth without including all the voices that live here." Kate watched the aliens' reaction with growing understanding. The Valerian Collective had spent centuries cataloging human behavior, technology, and social structures. They had detailed plans for approaching what they believed was a single dominant species. Now they were facing something entirely different. "We request a recess," Vex 9 announced. "We must consult with our superiors about this unprecedented development." As the aliens retreated to their ship, the human delegation gathered around their command tent. Commander Klein looked as stunned as everyone else. "They're not prepared for this," she said. "Their entire first contact protocol is based on dealing with one species." Helen was surrounded by animals, all of them apparently communicating at once. She looked up with urgent news. "The animals are sharing memories passed down through generations. Kate, some of these stories go back over a century. The aliens have been taking samples, soil, water, plants. They've been studying Earth's ecosystem, not just humanity." That night, as the human team tried to process the day's revelations, more animals continued to arrive at the site. By dawn, the desert was filled with creatures from across the continent, all waiting to see what would happen next. Kate stood watching the sunrise paint the alien ship silver and gold. In the distance, she could see movement around the craft. The aliens were clearly active, presumably reporting to their home world about this unexpected complication. "This is bigger than anyone imagined," Ryan said, joining her. "We're not just making contact with aliens. We're establishing Earth's position in a galactic community." Helen approached them, looking tired but determined. "The animals have been talking all night. They want me to tell you something important. They say the aliens aren't here just for first contact. They're here because of our evolution, because we can now communicate with all life." Kate felt a chill despite the warming morning air. "What do you mean?" "The animals believe our new ability isn't natural evolution. They think it's been triggered by something, possibly by the aliens themselves. And now they're here to see what happens next." As the alien ship's door began to open again, Kate realized that everything they thought they knew about this first contact was wrong. The real questions were just beginning, and the answers would determine the future of every living creature on Earth. The truth revealed. The second day of first contact began with an admission that shook both species to their core. Senior researcher Vex 9 emerged from the alien ship flanked by two new figures, one taller than the others with silver markings on her crystalline skin, and another whose blue coloring was deeper, almost purple. "I am High Coordinator Lyra 7, the tall figure announced through the translation device. "I lead this expedition. We have received new instructions from our collective council." Ryan Clark stood with the human delegation, now flanked by dozens of animals who had positioned themselves as equal participants in the negotiations. The sight still seemed to unsettle the aliens. "We have decided to share the complete truth," Lyra 7 continued. "Your species' sudden evolution was not natural. We caused it." The words hit the humans like a physical blow. Kate felt the ground shift beneath her feet as the implications sank in. "You did this to us?" Helen demanded, her voice carrying the outrage of someone who had spent months helping humanity adjust to their new reality. "Not intentionally," Vex 9 said quickly. "For 3 centuries, we have been conducting atmospheric studies of your planet. We released microscopic probes designed to analyze your ecosystem. These probes were meant to be completely inert." Lyra 7's large eyes reflected what might have been regret. "However, our analysis was incomplete. We failed to account for the complexity of human neural development. The probes bonded with your brain tissue, creating new neural pathways. The effect was unexpected. You experimented on us without our consent," Ryan said, his diplomatic training the only thing keeping his voice level. "We observed," the third alien corrected. "We never intended to alter your species. When we realized what had happened, we faced a choice: intervene to reverse the changes, or allow your evolution to continue." Helen stepped forward, her face flushed with anger. "And you chose to let it continue without telling us." "We chose to observe the results," Lyra 7 admitted. "Your new abilities fascinated our scientists. We wanted to understand what you would become." Kate found her voice. "How many other species have you done this to?" The aliens exchanged glances. "In our 3,000 years of galactic exploration, we have never encountered this reaction. You are unique, humans of Earth." A low growl rippled through the assembled animals. The wolf standing beside Ryan bared its teeth, and Kate heard through Helen's translation, "They speak of us as if we are specimens in their collection." "The animals have something to say," Helen announced. "They want to know why, if you've been watching Earth for 3 centuries, you never tried to communicate with them. They were aware of you. They were trying to warn us." Vex 9's expression showed surprise. We did not consider the non-human species to be sentient in the way we understand sentience. Our protocols focus on technological civilizations." The eagle on Ryan's shoulder let out a sharp cry that needed no translation. The coyote at his feet stood and began to pace, clearly agitated. "That's the problem," Helen said, her voice carrying the weight of every animal communication she had facilitated. "You saw only one species on Earth because you only looked for one kind of intelligence. You missed the fact that this planet has always been home to thousands of intelligent species." Lyra 7 studied the animals with new attention. "Are you saying that these creatures have always possessed the cognitive abilities we now observe in humans?" "Not the same abilities," Kate interjected, her scientific mind engaging despite her anger. "But complex intelligence, emotional depth, social structures, communication systems, yes. Humans just gained the ability to access their wavelength." The purple-tinted alien, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "I am Memory Keeper Thane 5. I maintain the records of our observations. If what you say is true, then our understanding of Earth has been fundamentally flawed." "Your understanding of life itself has been flawed," Helen replied. "You've been looking for civilizations that mirror your own, ignoring the incredible diversity of intelligence that exists. Lyra 7 turned to confer with her colleagues in their musical language. Kate caught snippets through the translation device, words that seemed to mean unprecedented, council, and reconsideration. When they turned back, Lyra 7's demeanor had changed. "We have made an error of cosmic proportions. Our collective council must be informed immediately. This changes our entire approach to planetary contact." "What does this mean for Earth?" Commander Klein asked. "We do not know," Vex 9 admitted. "Our protocols have no precedent for a planet with multiple intelligent species working in cooperation. We must return to our homeworld to consult with the full collective." Ryan stepped forward. "And what happens to us while you're gone? Do we just wait to see what you decide about our future?" "You misunderstand," Lyra 7 said. "You are not subjects awaiting our judgment. You are a new form of planetary consciousness that we do not fully comprehend. The question is not what we will decide about you, but whether you will accept us into your community." The reversal was stunning. Kate watched as the power dynamic shifted completely. The aliens who had arrived as superior beings making contact with a primitive species now found themselves as the ones seeking acceptance. "We need time to consider this," Helen said, speaking for both humans and animals. "You've revealed that you accidentally caused the biggest change in human history. That's not something we can just forgive immediately." "We understand," Lyra 7 nodded. "We propose a temporary arrangement. We will establish a research station in your solar system, not to observe you, but to work with you. We have much to learn from your unique evolution." As the sun set over the Nevada desert, Kate realized that first contact had become something unprecedented in galactic history. Instead of a technologically advanced civilization uplifting a primitive one, they were witnessing the birth of a new kind of interspecies relationship. The aliens retreated to their ship to prepare for their journey home, while the humans and animals faced their own monumental decision, whether to trust the beings who had inadvertently changed the course of human evolution. In the distance, more animals continued to arrive, as if the entire planet was gathering to witness this historic moment. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight, Earth spoke with a voice that had never been heard before in the galaxy. New alliances. 6 months after first contact, Kate Sullivan stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Earth Valerian Research Station, orbiting high above the planet she had once known so well. Through the massive viewing windows, she could see the blue marble of home, now forever changed by the events that had begun in a zoo elephant enclosure. The research station was a marvel of combined human and Valerian technology, a spinning wheel of interconnected modules where species from across the galaxy could meet and work together. But more remarkably, it was also home to carefully selected animals from Earth, making it the first truly multi-species space habitat in known galactic history. "The council meeting is about to begin," Helen Martinez said, joining Kate at the window. Helen now served as Chief Interspecies Communication Officer, a position that had never existed before Earth joined the galactic community. They walked together through corridors filled with an impossible sight, humans working alongside Valerians, while Earth animals moved freely throughout the station. In the hydroponics bay, a team of dolphins communicated with aquatic aliens from the Kepler system about water-based agriculture. In the astronomical lab, eagles worked with bat-like creatures from distant worlds to map gravitational currents. The council chamber was a circular room designed to accommodate beings of vastly different sizes and needs. Kate took her seat at the human delegation table, nodding to Ryan Clark, now Earth's first galactic ambassador. High Coordinator Lyra 7 called the session to order. Over the past months, she had become a close ally, her people's scientific curiosity balancing their initial cultural shock at discovering Earth's true nature. "We gather today to address the proposal that has been submitted to the Galactic Collective Council," Lyra 7 announced. "The proposal for Earth to become the first multi-species planetary representative in galactic history." Kate felt her heart race. This moment had been building since that day in the desert. The idea was revolutionary. Instead of humanity alone representing Earth, the planet would speak with a coordinated voice that included all its intelligent species. The Zeridian Empire objects, announced a tall, insectoid being whose mandibles clicked as he spoke. Planets are represented by their dominant technological species. This has been galactic law for millennia. Galactic law that has clearly been incomplete, Helen replied smoothly. How many other worlds have you overlooked because you didn't recognize the intelligence that already existed there? It was a question that had been haunting the galactic community for months. Since Earth's revelation, several member civilizations had begun re-examining planets they had dismissed as pre-sentient, discovering complex societies they had never bothered to communicate with. Memory Keeper Thane 5 stood to address the assembly. Our records show that Earth's model of interspecies cooperation has already improved our understanding of 17 different worlds. The collective's expansion policy must evolve. Luna's voice reached Kate through the station's animal communication network, a technological marvel that had been developed jointly by humans and Valerians. Tell them, human friend, that wisdom comes not from standing above others, but from standing together. Kate rose to address the council. 6 months ago, humanity thought we were alone on Earth. We've since learned that intelligence comes in countless forms, each offering unique perspectives. The wolf understands pack dynamics that have helped us solve resource allocation problems. The dolphin's echolocation has revolutionized our navigation systems. The eagle's understanding of air currents has improved our spacecraft design. She paused, looking around the chamber at beings from dozens of worlds. If the galactic community truly seeks to explore and understand the universe, then it needs to embrace all forms of consciousness, not just the ones that build starships. A new voice joined the debate, one that surprised everyone. Senior researcher Vex 9 had been quiet during most political discussions, preferring to focus on scientific work. I have spent my career believing that technological advancement was the highest form of evolution, he said. But I have learned more about the universe in these past months working with Earth species than in all my previous centuries of research. Intelligence without wisdom is merely clever engineering. Earth offers us wisdom. The debate continued for hours, but Kate could sense the momentum shifting. Representatives from younger civilizations seemed intrigued by Earth's model. Even some of the more traditional species appeared to be reconsidering their positions. Finally, the vote was called. Kate held her breath as each representative announced their decision. When the final tally was announced, the chamber erupted in a mixture of celebration and concern. The motion passes, Lyra 7 announced. Earth is hereby recognized as the first multi-species planetary representative in the Galactic Collective. This decision will require new protocols, new laws, and new ways of thinking about consciousness and citizenship. As delegates began filing out of the chamber, Kate remained at the window, looking down at Earth. Her communicator chimed with messages from around the planet, from the zoo where her journey had begun, from research stations in the Amazon, from Arctic outposts where polar bears were helping scientists understand climate change. Ryan joined her at the window. So, we did it. Earth has a voice in galactic politics. All of Earth, Kate corrected. That's what makes this different. Helen approached with a report from the surface. The integration is progressing faster than anyone expected. Tokyo has established the first interspecies city council with human, crow, and dolphin representatives. The Amazon Conservation Project now includes input from over 50 different animal species. Even the Arctic research stations have polar bear advisors. Kate smiled, remembering that morning 6 months ago when she had thought her biggest problem was a divorce and too much work. Now she was helping to reshape galactic civilization. Her communicator buzzed with a message from Luna: "The sky is big, human friend, but Earth's voice carries far. We have much work to do." Kate looked out at the stars scattered across the cosmic dark, each one potentially home to civilizations that might need to learn the same lesson Earth had taught the galaxy, that intelligence comes in infinite forms, and wisdom comes from listening to all of them. The future stretched ahead, filled with challenges and possibilities that no one had imagined. But for the first time since gaining the ability to hear the voices of all Earth's creatures, Kate felt confident that whatever came next, they would face it together, not just as humanity, but as Earth itself, speaking with the combined wisdom of every conscious being that called the blue planet home. As the research station continued its orbit, carrying representatives of dozens of worlds toward an uncertain but hopeful future, Kate realized that the greatest discovery wasn't that humans could talk to animals, or that aliens existed, or that Earth had joined a galactic community. The greatest discovery was that consciousness, in all its magnificent forms, was meant to be shared. The end.